The last movie we watched this week was my pick, that being the 2023 film The Boy and the Heron. And there's a lot that goes on in this movie, but the general synopsis based around the event of the plot is our main guy's mom dies and he goes to live with a new mother, the sister of his deceased mother that his dad is, I guess, pursuing now. And he then goes and reconnects with that mother after she gets taken into like the spirit realm or some shit, some alternate dimension. Comes to terms with his mother's passing, starts to accept his new mother as well, and goes back. The fucking other world dies, and all's hunky-dory.
Fun fact, Miyazaki became the oldest person to win the Academy Award for Best Animated Film for this one, dethroning himself when he won the same award for Spirited Away.
That's pretty good. I'll say that's also another fun fact as well. How the fuck is that possible, by the way? What? No one... Oh, it's because... That's right. It's because animated films, people just don't like those very much, and so they just pick whatever the
Well, it
newest...
was specifically for the Best Animated Film.
I was gonna say
award.
it's just gonna be more fucking Pixar or Disney shit, which they probably have younger directors on, I'd assume.
Yeah, probably. It is because like he set the record at, I think it was like 63 years old with Spirited Away, and then he breaks his own record at like 82 with this one.
He could break it again. Presumably he's got one more film in him.
He probably could, yeah.
Unfortunately, his film did end up beating fucking... I think it was Spider-Verse was the one that this beat at the awards, which...
The first Spider-Verse?
It was either the first or second one. Okay, the second one. I'd give it to the second one.
I would too, probably.
Well, let's see those ranks, boys. What are you guys sitting at right now?
B!
Dude, I'm also at a B.
Interesting. I'm at an A-, and I certainly have my problems with this film, but I think the artistic expression of it really pulls some heavy fucking weight. Like, it's really hard for me to give a Ghibli film, like a modern Ghibli film of this quality, anything lower than like an A. Like, it has to do some real fuck-ups with the plot to screw that up for me. This movie has some absolutely fantastic... Not fully for me. Like, the plot ends up being pretty mixed for me, generally speaking, and the artistic direction, everything around that, even outside of just me not fully getting what the plot is trying to say or the metaphors and messaging, it's still just a fantastic movie to watch from that perspective. Like, you can just be entranced by this without even needing context around a lot of stuff. Even though, like, generally speaking, I feel like the plot is simple enough and makes sense, but there's a lot of deeper meaning behind it for those connections, which is where my qualms come in. That being, a lot of people, this is me strawmanning, of course, a lot of people will say that this movie is just about the main guy coming to terms with his mother's death and then reconnecting, like I said in the plot synopsis, with his newfound mother. But I just don't feel like that stuff feels earned at all. Like, he doesn't interact a crazy amount with his mom when she's a child in this world, and honestly, he's pretty fucking stoic throughout most of this movie and doesn't give off a crazy amount of emotion, so it's hard to even really know what he's thinking most of the time. And like, I guess the big climactic moment is when his mom chooses, like, she says that like beautiful line of that she's fine to die because that meant that she was able to give birth to him or whatever, and he leaves her to, have her go die again in her time. And I don't know. I just didn't feel anything at that point. I just don't feel like they built it up enough for me.
Yeah, it didn't feel earned whatsoever.
Yeah. Things not feeling earned is really just like the synopsis of what I'm trying to say. And that also goes into the other aspect of him going into this like alternate world where we've got the mom that was taken there for who knows why. I mean, you can argue. I assume what they're attempting to go for is it was, in fact, the old guy taking her there to bait our main character to go into the world and then take over for him because he doesn't need that successor, so the world doesn't die or whatever. And I don't know. I understand why he goes in there to help her. He's just a nice guy. Like, he understands that it's his mom and he wants to like do right by her. But like, it doesn't feel like at the very end, like when or not even at the very end, it's like the middle of the movie when he finds her laying down and all the fucking paper starts attacking him and he like just like has a switch flip in his head. It just feels really sudden, and I don't know, it just felt like the movie didn't work hard enough to make me feel like that should have worked in the end, I guess.
So what you're saying, Jackson, is you're just a fucking Miyazaki shill. You're jacking him off. This guy made fucking Dark Souls. I can't give it lower than an A-. What the fuck? I'm with you, though. Yeah, this film is very visually stunning, just gorgeous, top to bottom. Can't get enough of that sweet, sweet Ghibli style there. Music was also very nice, too. But, like, come the fuck on with the plot for this film. I watched this shit twice. Watched it in Japanese originally, and then I watched it in English the second time. I definitely understood what was going on better the second time around, especially since I was just able to, like, pick apart, like, the little, like, things that they'd say early on that would lead into shit later, which definitely did help. But still, like, the fucking ending for this shit is just...
I mean, you also had an entire watch on your belt, too, going into the second one.
It's just... like, this is something I've said before, but I'm gonna reiterate here now. The hallmark for a good piece of media like this is that it should be good just on a baseline, and that you shouldn't have to do homework after the film to understand the plot. That sort of deeper analysis should be supplemental to the piece of media, not serve, and overall, just serve to enrich the experience and not be the entire enjoyment you get from it. And unfortunately, despite the good parts of this film, yeah, the fucking ending and what exactly the film is trying to get at just is not well elaborated upon really at all, which fucking tanks most of the enjoyment I can get out of the ending for it. Because it's like, you know, what was this all for? Who the fuck knows?
I feel like this movie, for me, and a big reason why I'm not so low with you guys as I am, and this is also probably because I rated Spirited Away quite highly, and you were much more of like, what's the point of this fucking movie? And you didn't like it for that reason. I think this movie feels much more like a journey and not a destination kind of film for me. I was mostly just like enjoying watching the film. Like I wasn't like bored necessarily, or I wasn't like taken out of it by my lack of context potentially. I was just having a fun time watching it for the most part, and the ending felt like it ended at a fine time. I didn't feel like there was pacing issues or anything. The plot certainly had questions it was making me think about, and I don't think that's necessarily bad. I don't know if I agree with your sentiment on what makes a good film, generally speaking. I think that movie...
That's because you're a fucking Ghibli shill, you piece of shit. Fuck you. You like Evangelion.
I don't think it's... Yeah, you do too, fuck ass. But like the big thing is like I think it's totally fine for movies to want to make you think about them.
I'm not saying that's bad at all. That's good. I enjoy that. I've said before I like that in a film. The problem is when that's like the whole thing, where afterwards it's like, well, I just don't get whatsoever what was happening there.
I don't think it is though. I think this movie absolutely has things that you can grasp onto at a surface level. He's going in there to get his mom back. He reconnects with his mother, accepts that fact,
yeah,
and then ends.
The
like,
shit
even
with
when
his
we were sitting on my bed after we finished this movie, I feel like you don't need to like think too hard about that shit either. It's the fucking... There's just some dude that has some alternate world he made or some shit. It landed on their planet, and he's fucking dying. He wants to have a replacement for him. There's some bloodline bullshit going on. He wants him because he's part of the bloodline or something that can do this. The guy doesn't want to keep the world going because... he thinks he has malice, and he's like, I can't keep your perfect world without malice going because I have malice, so it's not gonna fucking work. And the guy realizes this, and he's like, okay, it's fine. You know, it's not gonna fucking work. We can just let the world die. It's not worth it. Really, the world just seems like a vehicle to have this, like, mystical adventure rather than it being a big thing. It also is, like, largely, I'm assuming, an allegory for Ghibli itself. There's a lot of, like, reference and structure with this movie to other Ghibli films, and I'm not even like a crazy big Ghibli watcher, but just watching this one, there's so many things that felt like I was watching like Mononoke or Spirited Away. There's a lot of heavy influences to other Miyazaki films, and then there's also the whole thing of like, for a long time, Miyazaki's been trying to find a successor for Ghibli, and it felt very similar, you know, fucking they sold Ghibli out to some random company, I'm pretty sure. And I think the idea behind the ending of the world thing is he's trying to pass on Ghibli, and he can't find somebody, so it all just collapses. I assume that's what the point of that was. But that doesn't really fucking matter. I think the
that does matter, though. That's
fine.
the fucking structure of the film
world.
and what's going on.
I don't know if I agree with you on that.
No, a film doesn't need to be good at all. What the fuck are you talking about?
You can put words in my mouth all you want, buddy. Yeah, go.
It's all about the metaphysical. That's what really matters here. What all this represents, what's going on in the film itself, that can be shit for all I care. What matters is me watching video essays afterward and them telling me what it needs to be about.
We sat down in my bed and I gave you my service level analysis of what was going on, and that was fucking on the money.
Yeah, you were way more down on it than this.
I still had a fun time. You're still just putting lots of words in my mouth.
Listen, man, I'm giving it a B. That's still a good film. I also enjoyed it, but like, come on, it has big problems.
And I'm not disagreeing with that. Anyways, Tanner, go.
I was just gonna say, I agree largely with Nico on the plot thing, and I think the big reason for that for me is it does the same thing as Spirited Away, where the plot is mostly just meant to show you all of these really cool, creative creatures and whatnot, and these interesting landscapes. But then it's hurt even further by the fact this is a multiverse story. And that multiverses as a storytelling device inherently just will involve kind of messy plots. And so combining those two things together just makes it so that the plot is really just whatever. Like, the beat-to-beat story is like, it's just to get you to these locations and look at this interesting creative visuals, really. And I don't think the story matters all that much. I will say, Jackson's explanation of like the whole metaphor with like Ghibli itself, I found compelling a little bit, so we'll see. But yeah, the big positives for this movie are the art as usual, and I thought the voice acting was really solid in this one.
I assume you watched the dub?
Yeah.
The dub is solid for this one.
It does have a fucking star-studded cast, so I would assume so. I watched a little bit of it with Nico after we finished watching it subbed, and the boy seems like he's got so much more emotion in his voice than he does in Japanese, which I think is interesting. And Robert Pattinson doesn't even fucking sound like the same guy. He's like a totally different person as the Heron, which I think is fun.
Yeah.
Speaking of Mahito, though, Jackson did kind of touch on this as well, but yeah, he's just such a fucking boring character. He just doesn't give us a whole lot, and he doesn't really feel like he has that much agency in what's going on either. It's usually like other characters kind of guiding him around.
Yeah. He's got a cool haircut though, eh?
He does.
True. I mean, I think he's just kind of like an emotionally stunted kid. He lost his mom pretty early, and that fucked him up. And he certainly shows emotion at times of heavy influence, when he's terrorized by his nightmares, or at that climactic moment where he's like fucking trying to get to like his new mom or something. Like, he shows his emotions when it counts, but yeah, for the most part he's very stoic. It honestly reminded me a lot of the main character of Princess Mononoke, where he's just like the fucking Omega Chad guy, and everyone just swoons over him for that reason. Like, it felt like he was trying to emulate that sort of thing, but not as well.
Why'd they take the aunt anyway? Why was she there?
Because she's fine.
Okay.
Or something. I don't know.
Dude, why was the mom there?
Well, the mom was there because she had gotten when she was a kid, she had gone into the tower, and they say that like she was in there for like a year, and then she came back. Like nothing had ever changed, like she was the same age. So presumably she's in there like during that span of time, because like time is nebulous in there or some shit. It works differently.
Mm-hmm.
Which that helped me during my second watch through. That's when I picked up on that part.
Why she's got fire powers, though, is unrelated.
She died in a fire, so they gave her fire powers.
Yeah, exactly. It retroactively gives you the powers of the thing that killed you when you go in the tower.
I'm shocked there wasn't much of a reaction from our main character when he figured out that the fire Hime, or whatever they called her, was in fact his mom. I was like, oh, that's kind of fucked up. You didn't really care, which I thought was funny.
Yeah, it was just like, huh, she's her sister? That means... Anyway, where do we go now?
Let's go to the fucking tower with the bird people. Those birds are horrifying, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Fuck, I did not like those birds.
I'm a big fan of them. The parakeets were pretty fun. Just again, I liked a lot of the imagery in this film, the ideas that they had for it. Especially the parakeets were very fun, because it's like, they're pretty cute, but also they managed to make them incredibly intimidating.
Yeah, like, they just walk around with big butcher's knives and shit. Like, they're so casual about just wanting to cook and eat
like when
these
he initially
children.
goes into that house and they're just like fucking towering over him, and it feels very claustrophobic with them just standing right there. It's great.
Yeah. I feel like I was watching a horror movie in that scene.
Yeah. You know what? This one was pretty good.
You came around to it. He remembered the parakeets. You forgot about him.
I thought you guys were referring to the pelicans, which I actually found creepier just because of their dead eyes.
The pelicans were also creepy.
The pelicans were creepy too. I did fuck with the talk he had with that dying pelican too. I think that was interesting world building. I like those little character moments.
Yeah, or that just kind of cements more that, like, yeah, this world's structure and how it was created is kind of fucked up, where, like, we have nothing we can eat, so we just have to feast on these, like, fucking souls or whatever.
Yeah, that's what happens when you make a world without malice, or at least attempt to. Like, yeah, you need a bit of that for things to work, you know? There's no life without suffering. Or some shit.
Well, fellas, do we have anything else to say about The Boy and the Heron?
No.
Yeah, I think I'm chilling.
Fantastic.
Could have used more Heron.
Yeah, you know, the name for this movie is another thing. The Japanese name is, like, How Do You Live? Something along those lines. And then the English version, Boy and the Heron. People really are not big fans of the Boy and the Heron name. It's like, How Do You Live is so much better. But, like, I do agree with them, first of all. But also...
It's much more marketable.
Yeah, the Boy and the Heron is much more marketable. Like, when you hear that name, you know exactly what it is. How Do You Live feels a little generic. Like, it's a nice name, but at the same time, like, it doesn't really get to it quite as much.
I'm gonna be honest, too. I feel like general audiences are too stupid to even put together what the movie's about. Like, they see that type of name and they expect a much different movie than what this was. Or they'd, like, watch the movie and be like, what the fuck is the title even about? This makes no sense.
Yeah.
Tanner was talking a lot about how this isn't, like, a war movie, and he was confused by me saying this was a war movie from the description of it, where it mentioned that it, like, takes place post World War II, and it was so funny watching like the first 15 minutes of the movie when it's literally just like their fucking village getting firebombed and like tanks screwing through the town and shit. And I was like, what is Tanner smoking? And then, you know, we get into the other world, and then I understood your claim. It was very funny though, the dichotomy.
That's fair enough. You know, Jackson's little explanation of how this reflects, like, Miyazaki himself did convince me to raise it 1 to a B+.
Huge. I'm sticking at my A-, and Dylan is still at an A+ overall. He was much higher on this one than we were, pushing S-tier territory. We'll never know his thoughts, though. Maybe he'll comment them down below or something.
He was much higher on all of them than us.
Yeah.
That's just what he is. Bro likes movies, and there's nothing wrong with that. And this movie landed at a solid A- overall. I think. Wait, let me check that. If Tanner, you raising your rank actually pushed it over the edge. It didn't matter. It was going to be an A- overall anyway.
There we go.
Whoa.
Just let the record show Tanner's on the right side of history. That's all that mattered.
What? Oh, is it just because people fucking love this thing?
Yeah, people fucking love this movie.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, this is a pretty mixed movie, generally speaking, with audiences. Like, there's a lot of people that are very much on our side of, like, the plot's kind of stupid, but, like, it's visually impressive. And then there's other people that are like, this is the best Ghibli movie ever made. This is, like, a modern masterpiece. I cannot find flaw with it. And we're much more on the former rather than the latter on that side.
Yeah, there's a lot of people I was seeing where it's like, the plot doesn't matter, but it's not supposed to, guys. The plot doesn't need to make sense. Fuck you.
Checkmate, atheist. Yeah, my thoughts on this one are pretty much completely unchanged from when I saw it in theaters, to be honest.
Yeah, that's fair enough. You saw it 2 years ago, so you've given it some time to marinate too, or just maybe even just forget, who knows.
Yeah.
It's a fun movie, though. I really just wish they had fleshed out the interactions with our main character more and just made him more of, like, his own person. Because I could have found myself liking this movie so much more if they had just done some minor things with the setup. Alas, they made it far too obtuse for no reason.
Mm-hmm. You finally understand what every Ghibli movie is like for me. This is my typical experience.